All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Today we're doing a complete autopsy of a modern myth, specifically the chilling mechanics behind a really terrifying Dehradun urban legend. We're going to break down the anatomy of a curse, dissecting exactly how a local ghost story engineers fear, manipulates our deepest human instincts, and ensures its own terrifying survival. Picture this. We're starting right in the thick of it. A dark, completely deserted shortcut. Two friends, Rohit and Ankit, are driving through the night and they hear this exact radio broadcast. Just a simple news bulletin, right? Well, they literally laugh it off, dismissing it as total nonsense. But, as we know, ignoring the signs is the absolute first mistake in any folklore survival guide. So, moving into part 1, the fatal shortcut. Let's actually look at how this lore physically isolates its victims. The environment itself is literally the very first layer of the trap. Before any monster actually shows up, the atmosphere is meticulously designed to make you feel completely alone. I mean, think about it. An unending dirt road, pitch blackness, weird bugs violently pelting the windshield, and this overwhelmingly suffocating smell of dampness and decay. It's total sensory overload, perfectly designed to spark that primal panic.
And then bam, the trap is sprung. Out of nowhere, an old man is standing dead in the middle of the road, forcing the car to a screeching halt. And he drops this brilliant but absolutely chilling plea. He preys entirely on basic human empathy, begging for help for his sick wife. Rohit, totally driven by his humanity and completely ignoring Ankit's desperate warnings, by the way, steps out of the safety of the car. Big mistake.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Devil's Path Encounter. If we clinically map out the survivor's psychological breakdown, you'll see time is literally weaponized here. Look at this timeline. At minute 30, the ticking of his watch and some distant howling just max out his anxiety. By minute 45, nature itself throws up a massive red flag. A huge snake blocks his path in the woods. And then, minute 50. The atmosphere totally shifts when Ankit hears these wet, crunching sounds echoing through the trees. Just terrifying. That's when the illusion completely drops. Ankit finds the old man actually consuming his friend, exposing the monstrous entity that was hiding beneath that fragile, helpless disguise. The old man looks up, and he doesn't look human anymore. Long fangs, glowing red eyes, and he lets out this horrifying laugh, taunting Ankit, saying, "Now it's your turn to help, right?" Ankit somehow manages to sprint back to the car, barely escaping as the engine miraculously roars to life right at the last possible second. Now, on to Section 3, the 1948 cannibal case. But you see, escaping those woods doesn't mean escaping the curse. To understand what Ankit just saw, we really have to pivot to the historical lore anchoring this legend. A few days later, safely locked in his apartment, Ankit does some frantic internet sleuthing, and he uncovers a pretty grim history. The physical road is literally called Shaitan Ki Pagdandi, the Devil's Path. Back in 1948, it was home to a cannibalistic couple, Ramesh and Lalita, who used the exact same tactic of begging for help to lure travelers in to eat them, before a mob eventually burned them alive. And this is such a brilliant illustration of how time and local fear evolve a story. Back in 48, these were ordinary human killers. They used physical traps, they were totally mortal. But the modern entities, they've completely leveled up. They're supernatural shadows, they shape-shift, they're unkillable. They went from physical threats to deep, deep psychological tormentors. Next up, Section 4, Descent into Madness. Surviving the physical attack? Yeah, that's really just the beginning. Let's look at how the curse systematically targets the mind. Breaking it down clinically, it's clear that shattering the survivor's sanity is an absolute requirement for the curse to replicate itself. The entity didn't let Ankit get away by accident. It needed a witness, it needed a new vessel. Steps 1 through 3 handle the physical hunger, sure. But step 4, that's crucial for the curse's survival. It has to break the survivor's mind. So Ankit gets subjected to this severe, escalating psychological warfare right in his own apartment, making sure he has literally nowhere safe to hide. The cops dismiss his story as a drug hallucination, which isolates him even more. Then the torment starts. It's subtle at first. A ticking clock suddenly stops. But then, phantom knocks pleading for medicine. Finding a burnt thumb on his doorstep, a direct nod to 1948, whispers of past victims. And finally, literal blood dripping from his ceiling. It's just a relentless assault on his reality. The horror hits its absolute peak when Ankit looks in the mirror, and it's not his face staring back. It is the old man, smiling, silently mouthing these terrifying words. The mirror shatters, and honestly, with it goes the very last fragments of Ankit's sanity. The possession is fully taking hold.
Finally, Section 5. The cycle continues.
So how does the legend sustain itself? Well, it all comes down to the number 3. It takes exactly 3 weeks for Ankit to physically waste away into basically skin and bones, and for a fresh wave of disappearances to kick off in the city. Just 3 weeks. His body is entirely drained, like a parasite has fully taken root. His neighbors just think he's lost his mind, but the reality is so much worse. And what's so eerie is that the expanding curse gets captured objectively on CCTV. When a local kid goes missing, police check the footage. They see the boy walking alone, but trailing right behind him in the shadows, 2 distinct figures with glowing red eyes, one old, one young. The entity didn't just replace itself, it multiplied. Ankit's final days in that apartment are just grim. He's heard desperately muttering to empty walls, trying to justify the unthinkable things he's being forced to do. It reveals the curse's ultimate, horrific ultimatum. Become the monster, or be consumed by it. He has totally lost his human agency. He is literally a prisoner inside his own body. Eventually, the smell coming from the apartment is just too much to ignore. The police raid Ankit's flat, but it's completely empty. The only thing they find is a single sentence written on the wall in blood. Now that hunger is yours. That's it. It completely confirms the irreversible transfer of this ancient hunger. Ankit, the victim, is gone for good. And of course, this builds to a truly inevitable, cyclical conclusion. Fast forward a few months on that foggy Dehradun highway, headlights cut through the dark. A new car stops for a young man standing in the road, and yes, it's Ankit. Now sporting those unnatural glowing red eyes, he looks right at the driver and delivers the exact same plea that doomed him months ago. Which leaves us with a pretty terrifying question about human nature, right? This myth is so insanely effective precisely because it weaponizes our absolute best trait, our desire to help other people. So I'm going to leave you with this to ponder. If you saw someone asking for help on a dark, foggy road, would you stop? Thanks for tuning into this explainer. And remember, sometimes the best way to stay alive is to just keep driving.